only that they give you a value system that's based on things which are once removed from your parents, whom you don't always like. Sometimes you like your grandparents better than you like your parents, and you can
I
take.
didn't like my grandmother's, what she tried to make me do. And I kind of have my way about those things at home because my mother understood those things. But my grandmother has very definite ideas about some things that she wanted me to do. For instance, I couldn't go in the sun because I freckle.
Mm-hmm.
And so she had the old Miss Carraway that lived up, we said, on the sand hill, to knit these mittens for me, the mittens that came up to my, almost to my shoulders, from the
Big mittens.
And these are summer mittens.
Summer mittens.
summer ones, and my Lord, the only thing is it didn't have fingers in. They had a piece that came across here that you stuck, you know, but they spun the yarn, you know, from the cotton, and she had the spinning wheel, and she did all the things I had to do. Then she sat there and she would knit the mittens for me. Well, my mother and father would go to these medical meetings and the so forth and so on meetings, and they would send us up to my grandmother's. Well, we couldn't see any lights up there, and the frogs would holler, and the owls would, whatever they do, and we'd want to go home. But anyway, they would do something fast by us. But my mother would always fix a surprise for every day for us.
Oh.
When the mailman came, we could go and get the mail. We would sit right in the corner. My grandfather would sit there with us in a swing, and he had his chair, and he would let us go and get the mail. Well, I would start out. Well, I couldn't go because I wouldn't put the mittens on, and I wouldn't wear the bonnets that my mother had made these beautiful things with ribbon and lace and all that button thing in the back. So my grandmother thought, well, if she put and my hair was curly, if she put a piece of hair here and a piece of ribbon here, I couldn't get that thing off that bonnet. That didn't stop me. But I got it off just the same. But anyway, I couldn't go because I couldn't. But she would have all kind of real nice things. I know my brother got a watch, one of these nickel-like watches, you know. I don't remember what I got. But so one day I thought, well, I'm not going to be bothered with that bonnet, and I'm not going to be bothered with those mittens. I'm going under the house, and I'm going to stand there all day long. So I went under the house. Well, she couldn't get under the house because she was too fat to get under. So I stayed under, and I was having a good time out there. It was nice and cool. And I would take a little stick, and I would draw all kinds of things. And it didn't bother me at all. But dinner time came, middle of the day. She sent somebody under there with this big tray of food. I said, take it on back. I'm not going to eat it. I wouldn't drink any water. I wouldn't drink any milk. I wouldn't do anything. Sent the thing on back. Well, about the middle of the afternoon, she got worried about me and tried to get me out. Well, I just took my own time about coming out. So she didn't, I don't remember what I did then, but I know the sun was going down, and I knew she couldn't try to make me wear the bonnet. And then I could roam all around any place I pleased, you see. So the next day she didn't say anything about the bonnet, but I didn't bother about doing any of the other things. And then when she was going to let me do some of the things that ordinarily I'd want to do, I didn't want to do those. Because then she thought she'd let me go in the sun then to please me. I didn't want to go in the sun then. I wanted to sit and do something else. But otherwise, everything else she would do, anything else we wanted to do, but there were those things, because she didn't want me to get freckled. And I thought, well, I don't care whether I get freckled or not. Then my brother would say, let's go and get the eggs, and she had guineas. And my brother would find the guinea nest, and he said, oh, look, here's an egg, looks just like sister's face. I got so mad with him, I didn't know what to do. But,
But look, doesn't look like you ever had freckles.
Huh?
And doesn't look like you ever had freckles anyway.
well, I did, my face was just like all over.
Were you a blonde as a
Mm-hmm.
girl? Mm-hmm.
So,
Was it sometime during this time that someone wrote the poem Mary, Mary, Quite Contrary to describe you?
I don't know whether they did or not, because they knew, that's what they knew about me all the time.
Fit you to a T. This was this grandmother the one who figures in the story of the goat?
I don't remember about the goat.
Had a contrary old goat, I think, on the farm that used to chase you and your brother around and
Oh,
butt
that was at
everything in
home.
sight. Okay, that was at home.
Oh, that was the one that we will give a bath?
I don't
Once you
remember
set
a
on
bath
fire.
being a part of it.
Well, our house was high off the ground.
This is the same house that Jimmy lives in?
Not now.
Okay,
It was
different
in
house.
Scranton.
Okay.
So, you know how goats smell?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we decided we were gonna give him a bath, the goat needed the bath.
Oh,
So,
Okay.
so we dug a nice hole under the house. The house was right like that off the ground. And it was sandy, so we didn't have any trouble digging the hole. So we dug the hole and tried to fill it with water. Well, of course, as soon as we put the water in, it would just go. So then we decided we would take a tub and put in the hole and fill the tub. So we did that. Then we got the old goat and got him and tried to get him in the tub. But he got his legs stretched out like that, and that goat wasn't going in the water. So we thought, well, we don't know what to do to get him, make him go in the water. So then we decided there was only one thing we knew to do was to set the goat on fire. So we went up to the kitchen and got some, these straw brooms like we use in the country. We found one about like this. So we went under the house, set that broom on fire, and put it under the goat. That old goat went flying out. I don't know what he did.
But he didn't jump in the water.
He didn't, no.
He never had his bath.
So,
Yeah, but you didn't set the house on fire either.
no, it didn't set the house on
That
fire.
was
We didn't
lucky.
think about that.
No.
I don't know whether somebody saw him and put him out.
oh
Oh,
my
wow.
goodness.
See, were you Baptist back then too?
Yeah.
See, it seems like a lot of your stories have to do with trying to throw things into the river. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But we got Louise. We were about to baptize her when somebody came up.
Now, what was Louise's offense?
We heard she heard our grandmother.
How did she do that?
Well, she took some blocks that belonged to us, and she knew she wasn't supposed to. She was the housekeeper's little girl. And we had some blocks. We had gone to the mill and got some nice little blocks. My grandfather had a mill within walking distance of the house, but we weren't supposed to go there. But we did, and we came back with all these nice blocks, and we had them piled up. So she gets them all out and strings them across the porch, and she left them. Well, Grandmother came around the porch and didn't see the blocks, so she scratched a leg on the box. Well, we found out about it. How we did, I don't know. But, that was terrible. She had hurt.
Hmm.
And something should be done about it. And if grandmother didn't do something about it, and her mother didn't do something about it, we were gonna do something to it. So, she had worried us. So we decided the best thing to do is get rid of her.
Hmm.
So we went out to this,
We decided this is judge, jury, and executioner all together.
Willie,
And we is you and your brother?
my brother, and my two cousins, May and James, my aunt's two children. We got them into going up there with us. And then we got in more trouble then when the four of us got together. And so we decided, we went over to the stables, and there was an old mule that would let us drive to the cart sometime and hitch that old something up to the cart. Got a bag with some rocks in it. And then we let Louise got a lot of things for her to play with. And just showered her with love and affection and everything we could do, and let her do everything she wanted to do. If she had had any sense, she would have known something was up, but anyway, she didn't. So then then we asked if she wanted to go to ride with us in the car. Oh yes, she wanted to. But she could bring all the things with her too. So we went on across the road, got in the car, and this man had heard us plotting all this, and we were gonna take it to the river and dump her overboard, and we knew.
You were serious?
We were serious. We were gonna put her in that bag and tie it and just dump her overboard. Before you got to the road went on across the road, and there was a little by road that came off like that and went right on down. There was this nice little sandbar there, and we were right down to that sandbar. We had gotten her in that bag, and we had gotten that bag tied with a string. And we were ready to dump her overboard when Charlie came up, and
Aren't you
Who's
great?
Charlie?
the man that lived,
Huh.
had a house right on the other side of or lived in the house right up in the court near my grandfather's store he had.
You know what you should do is write some of these stories down as a book, and you can call the book. I just realized this is where all your stories hinge. You could call the book "So We Decided." ... Every one of your stories takes up after you and your brother decided something.
That's a pretty horrible story. in a way.
It could have been, if he hadn't hurt us, that child would have been dead.
Hmm. My goodness.
And you might
How
have had
old
a
were you
lot to
then?
pay.
I reckon we were about 8, 9 years old.
Goodness sakes.
Not quite old enough to know better.
We should have known better though. But she had worried us until we just,
Hmm.
but everything we did, she was just a pest.
Hmm. How old was Louise?
Oh, I reckon she was about 5 years old.
Oh, she was younger than you.
Yeah.
And a real pest.
So she was much more innocent and
Mm-hmm.
unsuspecting. My goodness, what a story. That's kind of a chilling.
All right, we might have to save this story for a little while,
Yeah,
so Elizabeth
good.
doesn't get the wrong
But
ideas.
you know, some of us have been a person your age, and some of us have been a Louise. I think I've been on both sides.
So
Don't you?
but we were just.
I've never been a Louise, I know that.
Well,
I was growing up.
I think Melissa was a Louise.
I was
we
Louise.
didn't like her mother much better than
Not
that.
really bad. Because you were vital to their play.
You didn't have to speak. You could
You had your own
say
language.
your own language. You had a kind of a funny.
You would say, you stand there with your little handbag over your arm and the scarf over your head and say, and they say, and they do it.
Didn't last long.
Lasted quite a while. You just don't remember. You just remember when you turned into little Louise, the real Louise.
Sure, it must have been marijuana.
Oh, really?
Because now, what I hear about it, from what I've seen, I believe that's what it was. And there were these patches of it behind the grape arbor, and there was a plum thicket, and we would go behind that, and May and James and Willie and I, and we would roll our cigarettes and sit back there and smoke. And one day, we were just not bothering anybody, just sitting there just as nice and quiet as anything. And we thought we heard somebody coming. So of course, we had to get rid of our cigarettes. And I don't think they had any smell, but so maybe it wasn't marijuana. But anyway, so we put them on the ground, and we couldn't step on them because we were barefooted. And but we did some to, and thought we had them out. And then we ran. Well, we didn't have to put them out. Then the next thing we knew, the plum thicket was on fire. And there was all this, and the plum thicket was about as big as that field all out there.
Mm.
And that was behind the grapevine.
Wow.
And that thing was just going.
So you didn't get away with
Ooh.
anything.
We didn't know.
Did anybody have to confess to that?
Oh, no, we didn't know a thing about it.
Must have been a stray lightning bolt.
We didn't know anything.
I think I'd keep my mouth shut on that one too. Were ladies already smoking at that time? I guess so. This is after the.
I don't know, we were back then in the woods, and the little town we lived in, we didn't know what was going on.
Did you smoke cigarettes when you were older? Say when you were in college or so?
Maybe in college a little bit.
Because the Lord knows Pappy consumed tobacco every way they ever thought of consuming it. So I thought maybe you guys went to smokers
No, I
together.
think I smoked maybe a little bit in college, not enough to acquire the taste. Because we weren't supposed to, and I think I did just enough, and I didn't get caught, and when I didn't get caught, I would never.
That was half the fun.
In Converse
Research,
College or at
yes.
West Hampton College?
Converse.
You went to Converse first and then transferred to West Hampton after that?
Mhm.
And you were a business major?
That's where I got in trouble.
You got in trouble at West Hampton?
No,
At Converse.
West Hampton.
West
I
Hampton.
thought.
And what trouble are you referring to?
When I met Pappy.
Ah, yeah.
Oh, big trouble.
Big trouble.
But it was worth it.
Mm-hmm.
It certainly changed your life, didn't it?
It certainly did.
Long about when did you meet? And how did you meet?
Well, I had these friends, Liz Tyree from Durham, and I forgot who the other girl's name was. And we were standing in the blue room window. And the blue room was where the boys used to come to wait for the dates. I don't know whether he had a date or what, but anyway, he was down there talking to somebody. And Liz and I can't think who the other girl was. And I was standing up at the window. We didn't have dates. Liz did go with somebody, went with a friend of Pappy's. And so we were just watching the girls when they would come in to the dates. And I don't think Joe was there. But anyway, Pappy was talking to some of the other girls, and they were kind of going and coming. So they had a dance. I don't know whether it was a dance or anyway, some kind of reception or something over at the gym. And the girls were invited, the girls and the boys. And Liz and whoever this other person was were going, and they asked me to go with them. And I said I didn't have anything to weigh up, which was a story. So Liz said, well, I'll let you have some. I don't remember what it was. But anyway, I got ready to go, and then I said, well, I don't believe I'm going. Oh, she said, oh, come on, we'll have a good time. Well, anyway, I went on with them.
Mm-hmm.
So the way you was supposed to do, there would be 3 girls and there'd be 3 boys.
Mhm.
Well, of course, Liz was going with Joe. So Papa was with Joe, and I'd forgotten who the other one was. But anyway, they lined up the way they wanted to, and I was with Liz and whoever the second one she was with. So we butted up together, the boys on the level with us, and that's how I met
Mhm.
him.
Was he what you would call a ladies' man at the time?
I think he thought so.
I didn't ask. I know he thought so. Would you say he was a
And
ladies'
then-
man at
then
the time?
He came over Sunday afternoon, that was Saturday night, then he came over Sunday afternoon, and then we could, they could come over for 10 minutes after we had dinner. So, then they would always say they could come and talk. So I sat at Wilhelmina Wright and Mary Pebble's table. Mary Pebble's brother was one of the English professors at the University of Richmond. He wasn't at that time, but he was later.
Mhm.
So anyway, I don't know whether he called and asked me if he could come over after dinner or not, but anyway, I asked Mary, or Wilhelmina, whichever, if I could see him at, and said yes. So then he came for 2 or 3 nights. So after that, they would always say, you can talk. So he came over every night after that, and it was Sunday afternoon.
So it was really that fast? You saw him one time, and the next thing you knew, you were seeing each other every day?
Mhm.
That sounds familiar. When did he first go home to South Carolina with you?
Oh, I think it was the following Christmas.
That sounds familiar too. What did doctor think of him?
I must have thought it was all right.
No, evidently, and everybody approved. What did Willie think of him?
Oh well, that we weren't engaged then. We weren't engaged then.
I know, but that's a long trip to take. You don't just do that
Well,
casually.
Yeah, but anyway, we weren't. Because I knew he was up here, and
Well, here's a better question. How about the first time you went to his home and met Mama? Was she intimidating?
well, I don't know. She had told me pretty much how she felt about things.
And did you meet his dad down there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his dad was always just as nice as he could be. I thought that of him.
Did his mom and his dad live together?
Mm-hmm.
Always? Then how did it come about that he was raised mostly by his grandmother? This is something I've never understood.
Well, he had spinal meningitis.
Pappy?
Mm-hmm. And his grandfather, Horace Hall,
Mm-hmm.
died on 4th of July.
Hmm.
Before he was born in August.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, no, I'm getting that all mixed up. So of course, but they were, his mother and father were living at his grandmother's when he was born.
Okay.
And then they moved to Newport News. Well, of course, as he had lived there with them, they thought that was, she had gotten attached to him, you see.
Mm-hmm. This is his grandmother, Lizzie?
His grandmother,
Hall.
Gammy,
Gammy.
is what they call her.
Mm-hmm.
So he, but anyway, they moved to Newport News. And then he had spinal meningitis. I don't know how old he was.
But he's a little boy.
When he was a little boy.
Mm-hmm. 4 or 5 years old.
And, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't going to school.
Mm-hmm.
So his grandmother took him home with her to keep him there for a while until he got better.
And Robert stayed with
Robert
mother and
stayed.
father.
with them.
I see.
So he just kept on staying.
I see. So it was sort of, he required so much care that with Mama having to take care of Robert also, who had been a baby at the time.
Well, she didn't take too much care of her children.
Mm-hmm. So she maybe uses that as an
She
excuse.
She didn't, she just couldn't exactly be bothered with too much with,
Did they have help that took care of the children?
huh?
Did they have help that took care of the children?
No. They just did, that's, now he liked to bother with them,
Mm-hmm.
but he could stay home and be with them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
Did he live with his?
uh,
Did he live with Gammy until he went away to school?
yeah,
Really? Wow. And how far was that from his mother and father?
that was at the Isle White Courthouse, and they were in Newport News.
No, other side of the river.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Now, he says that he never rode a train until he went away to school, but that's not so, because I know he said he went to, and he went to his grandfather Edwards, his grandmother Edwards, his father's father. His wife died, who was his father's mother.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Gammy's husband had been dead. So the two of them got married.
Now wait a minute. Let me.
His father's
It,
father,
his grandfather Edwards, right,
uh-huh,
ended up marrying his grandmother Hall.
uh-huh.
That's wild.
So he says he's his own grandfather.
So he and Robert weren't really raised as playmates.
No.
Then no, it's not like you and Willie at all.
No.
They just saw each other on occasion.
At Christmas time.
Oh, well, that explains some
but
things.
then when he got old enough, he would go to Newport News and work in the shipyard in the summer.
Mm-hmm. As a teenager, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't Robert work there also?
No, I think Robert worked at the Daily Press.
I thought Robert told me a story one time about him being he and a friend being the first two to go on strike at Newport News Shipbuilding and Dry Dock.
Maybe he did. I don't know.
They gave him some kind of disgusting job that they didn't want to do, so they just refused to do it. It wasn't exactly one of the great labor movements.
St. Patrick,
Might have been.
that was the only friend I know you had down there.
I remember that because one time they were having some labor trouble down there, and he was all irate about it. And Sarah was like, "Now, Robert, you should be the last person in the world to get upset about workers expressing their desires."
You know something, baby?
Yeah.